This is the Ross Grimsley Show. The Ross Grimsley Show is presented by Mobil 1. Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil helps extend engine life. Visit your local Jiffy Lube service center and ask for Mobil 1. Now, here's the old left-hander, Ross Grimsley.
Hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for being with us today. Kyle Ottenheimer's joining me today, as he usually does. How you doing, buddy?
I can't complain.
Can't complain.
Tuesday, a little bit of a dreary Tuesday, but I feel like that's fine. Middle of the week, I'd rather it be gray on a Tuesday than on a Friday.
It's going to be. The weather's going to get warm again.
Is that the case? I was getting used to this idea that fall was here.
The windows open, the air, blowing through.
It's going to get like 90 again.
It's going to be 94, I think, 94 or 5. So that's good.
We should have expected that.
We're going to the ocean this weekend.
That's a good weather to do it then. You might as well.
My wife will love the beach. So anyway, we're coming to you live from the Live Casino Hotel studio today. Before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about what's at 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Ooh.
You can only imagine. Costa's Inn. They're known far and wide for the great steamed crabs and crab cakes. Nightly specials include crab cake night on Mondays, rib night on Tuesdays, steak night on Wednesdays, and lobster night on Thursdays. On Wednesdays, at steak night, you get a half-price bottle of wine, so you can't beat that. Check out CostasInn.com and find out more. They'll ship the delicious crab cakes anywhere for you. Costa's Inn. 4100 North Point Boulevard. Nick and Pete down there treat you like family.
Too early for me to be thinking about crab cakes, but now you got me thinking
I
about
always think about crab cakes and crabs. I love them. So anyway, first of all, let me tell you a little bit about the Bel Air High School women's volleyball team. Head coach Dave Simon, assistant coach Kyle Anthony. They were second in the state last year. They have 8 returning players.
I hear that's good to have 8 returning players.
Absolutely. An all-Metro first team pick, Olivia Simon. They have McKenna Reswick, who is a senior, and she's a D1 school headed. Anyway, I mention that because my granddaughter's on the team, Autumn Grimsley. Now, this is her second year of playing volleyball. She was a competitive figure skater. So she is a libero, which is a kind of a defensive specialist.
You said it before the show, and I said a libero. And
I had to look it up.
I was like, oh, okay. It sounds oddly like a string, like a wooded string instrument in the orchestra.
So I had that. They told me about it, but basically it's a defensive player that stays on the back line.
Okay.
And
they're the ones that have to save stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They run around and stuff. But, it was me and my wife. We go to the game Friday. They played John Carroll.
Okay.
Best of 5, they beat them 3 games. First 3 games, they were down 11-1
in the first one?
In the third game.
Okay.
And they bounced back and won. So anyway, I had to props to
early,
those guys. They were second in the 3A division last year, so they're looking for big things this year.
Awesome.
So
good stuff.
Had to put that out there.
It's good to hear, other than, of course, the Ravens, who started off on a good note, teams succeeding in the Baltimore area.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So we're going to, hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about, some different sports coming up, in the future.
Baseball season is continuing. We got quite the playoff push right now.
Yes, it is.
It might not be particularly thrilling in Baltimore necessarily.
No, it's not.
But there's some interesting stuff going on around Major League Baseball.
The divisions are pretty much locked up. I'd say Yankees well ahead. Minnesota and Cleveland are battling it out.
Minnesota, though, took a hit.
They took a hit, but they're still 5 games up.
But do you think that without Pineda, what does that do to they still have Barrios, right?
They have, they swing the bats really well. And for people that don't know, Michael Pineda was suspended 60 games.
80, wasn't it?
Or it was 80. It was reduced to 60 because he went before the board and pleaded this thing. And let me tell you, these guys know what they're taking. Right. And if they don't, because it's for years now, even at the big league level, minor league level, before you take anything over the counter, given to you by a friend, you can go, and they say this, we've all said it, there were coaches, go ask the trainer. Right. Because there's a tremendous list of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they make it extremely clear what.
Well, yeah. And
now people will try to hide behind the I didn't know that was in this thing I took argument.
He just thought it was a diuretic to lose weight or keep his weight, but it also masks
Sure.
the
So mass
steroids.
right.
So then you go, wait a minute, but he goes before the board, and anyway, they give him 60 games. But he was 5-1, 306 since the All-Star break in nine starts.
Well, he was pitching, I think. Well, Barrios has been slipping a bit. I think in the first half he was excellent, sub-3 ERA. He's been around 3.75, I think, for the year now. Odorizzi started really hot. Also had a little bit of a hiccup, but I don't know. I don't think they would have the arms in the playoffs.
Not against the horses they're going to play, but they have swung the bats really well. They lead the league in home runs. Again, you compare them with Houston, you compare them with the Yankees, the two juggernauts offensive-wise. And we'll get to Houston in a minute because there's some interesting stuff going on. But Atlanta's 9.5 games up, St. Louis 4 games up on the Cubs, and the Dodgers obviously 17.5. But the wild card races, that is the thing that's interesting. Tampa Bay's up by 1.5. Oakland is second.
And now Tampa has Meadows and Glasnow back. They're healthy.
Glasnow's back, and he pitched the other day, threw really well. That's a big thing for them. Yeah. Kiermaier's down. He got hurt.
His defense is.
I mean, there's all sorts of injuries around them.
They seem like they've just, this year in particular, dealt with a lot of injuries, but
big time.
They've dealt with them and handled them admirably.
You look at the Cubs. They lost 2 shortstops, Diaz and Addison. Chris Bryant's down with a knee thing, I believe. The Yankees.
Well, the play they've been getting from Castellanos has been out of this world.
They got people coming up just like the Yankees. They've lost a lot of guys. They have 65 or more $1 million of guys on the DL, and they've continued. They're pitching. Paxton threw a shutout last night. I think I wasn't a complete game.
Herman, is he hurt right now?
Herman is. I don't think so.
He's been pitching well. I mean,
yes, Herman, Paxton. They're going to get and Bowie, who's in the playoffs. They're going to get to face Severino, CC Sabathia, which I think is really unfair, but they
really
do that.
Be
that's dirty.
I do think that should be barred. They should be like, listen, we get it.
I've seen it before, but that's the Yankees. That's what they do.
Well, you know what? You say that you want to beat the best if you want to be the best. So for those guys on that team, imagine the thrill it would come with if they were.
No, I know, and I remember back in when I was with Seattle, they took the organization, Seattle organization, took our best pitcher. And we had to pitch a guy on 2 days rest. We got beat 2-1 in the finals of the PCL, Pacific Coast.
And that makes you look. And we've talked a lot through the season about the Delmarva Shorebirds and the amazing season they had. A similar story for them in their playoffs. They lost 2 consecutive one-run games after I think winning 20+ throughout the year, and that's kind of the way baseball is, right?
It's you just can't tell. But they didn't get any offense. But Bowie is getting some offense.
How about that play Mason McCoy made?
That was unbelievable. I mean, you just don't see that happen that often. He throws the ball with his glove and overhand.
Yeah.
You just don't see that. But yeah, I mean, there's some good things happening, and hopefully they rise to the occasion against these big league pitchers.
It would make for quite the story, and even either way, right? The experience they'll get facing them is more worthwhile than if they were facing insert. You can always 90 say mile per hour.
We beat major league players to win the Eastern League. But
now, Severino, the expectation is he will join them in the bullpen.
Probably,
in the
yes, yeah. I mean, the big thing, the Yankees have to get pitching because they're gonna end up matching up probably against Houston, and Houston's got the Verlander and Cole.
And they have no weaknesses.
What they have done. Verlander, Cole, and Greinke. Greinke won last night. He's 5-1, but Cole joined Pedro Martinez as the only pitchers to strike out 14 or more guys in 3 consecutive games. That's one thing. He's
the guy that you would name third, probably. Like most people, the casual baseball fan, if they're naming the pitchers, like if they're going to rank the quality of pitchers of that rotation, like Cole is probably after Verlander and Greinke, based on what people know. But he's absurd. He's so good.
I think Greinke is the third guy now, and he's better than most guys, first guys. But
I mean, Verlander, what they did with
it's pitching wise for Houston, they're tremendous.
But name it everywhere.
But get this with their offense. Their offense has been overlooked. They've scored 36 runs the last 2 nights,
and they don't strike out that much.
They're the fewest.
Yeah.
Some of the things that they've scored, they've won 56 games at home, club record, 28-2 versus the AL West at home. They are the first team to hit 6 home runs in the first 2 innings. They're one home run away from franchise record. The offense is one of the most potent in the major leagues.
Well, the addition of Brantley was, at the time, it was as brilliant as it turned out to be. He's a professional hitter. That guy can hit. And then you bring him to Houston, and they'll boost it a little bit more, right?
They have had, Correa's been on the IL. Gurriel,
and he's been the power uptick he's had this year is crazy
unbelievable.
Too. And then Jordan Alvarez was the guy that tied it all together.
He's the guy that really they call it. They've had Presley and Peacock as pitchers on the DL,
but they've got so many young guys
that
haven't had a chance to play yet. That if you were to give them the opportunity, like Kyle Tucker, hell of a player, hell of an outfielder.
But they do. They're tied with the Yankees for the best record, or were. They lead the major league in several categories: highest walk rate, lowest strikeout rate,
and it's just
batting average,
it's
on base percentage,
how they don't
slugging, home runs, fifth. They're 20% higher batting average than the league average. That don't happen.
So essentially, what it's going to come down to for the Astros is, look, they don't strike out, but I'd be curious to know the statistics of the Astros this season when they face guys who are really strikeout guys, right? I mean, if they get to the playoffs and they are facing could Paxton make them strike out?
That's the thing.
But if you put the ball in play, right, that's what you're supposed to do in the playoffs.
That favors Houston over every other team because they do they make the pitchers pitch. They don't swing a lot of bad pitches, but hopefully, teams that want to match up with them, it's going to be interesting.
Is it to the point now where, if you're talking about when you're looking at the playoffs, looking ahead, would you rather have the Astros or the field in picking baseball right now for the World Series?
You don't want the Astros to play at home.
I'm saying, so then you think you would, if you had to bet on one or the other. Of course, you're not a gambler, Ross. You never have been.
That's not true.
If you had to bet on one or the other, the Astros or the field for the playoffs this year, who are you taking?
I got Astros. I mean, they're doing too many good things at this time, and they're getting healthy too. Now the Yankees are getting some pitching, some of their pitching.
The Dodgers are the team maybe you look at across the way.
We'll get a chance to see those guys tonight.
Sure.
They're here for a 3-game series. Then Ty Block is pitching. He is 1-2 with a 10.95 earned run average.
Well, now 10.95, that there's room for improvement.
Exactly right. But against the Dodgers, he's pitched 60 2/3 innings, 282 earned run average. So he can possibly 13 games, 7 starts.
Was he previously with the Padres? Is that?
No, he was with the Giants.
Okay, that would have been explained.
He was with us when I was in Double-A. He was, he's not an overpowering guy, but he's got some worth, and I think he's better out of the bullpen as a middle long type reliever. But he's been forced into starts. They're facing Buehler.
Walker Buehler is one of the
12-3, 320. I think he's outstanding. Love his delivery.
Ross doesn't walk people really at all.
They're going to face Stripling and Hill the next couple nights.
Who are both very good in their own way.
Exactly. Hill's just coming back. He was hurt for a while.
How do you explain Rich Hill? How do you explain a guy who for the first 10 years of his career pretty much was just like a 5th starter?
Yeah, right.
And then suddenly he turns into, one of the better strikeout pitchers in baseball.
Well, that's
The strikeouts.
I mean, they just keep bringing guys up.
How do they? Can we outsource pitching development to the Dodgers?
I talked to a scout, and the Dodgers finish in the top. So their draft picks, they're not the top draft picks. They're going for, or they draft toward the lower area, and their minor league system is stacked.
Dustin May
with guys
just nonstop. They have but I don't understand. I wish they would reveal exactly what's going on.
But that's what a lot, people scratch their head, go, where do these guys come from? They get them, so they're doing something really, really well.
And hopefully the Astros. And look, we've said the Orioles are on their way. We think to having a system that's producing more quality pitchers, right? That's
quality pitchers, quality players.
All of it.
I mean, that's
the Dodgers have been doing it, although it hasn't exactly produced the World Series titles they would have hoped for.
And that's what Dave Dombrowski. He's gone after just winning the World Series.
Yeah.
And, I think the thing that bit him is he didn't improve their bullpen. They've had some problems with the starters, obviously.
Do you still think it was a bit of a reactionary move, though? Like, were you still surprised?
Oh, big time. Absolutely. And it's not surprising anymore because he's more of a baseball person and less of an analytics. He uses analytics, but not to the point they're basing a lot of things on now.
And on that note, I mean, there was more, of course. There were Orioles,
right.
More people.
Yeah, the old Frederick staff, which I mean, and people go, well, they didn't win. That's not the case. You're going to win if they're going to give you players. If you don't get the players, you're not going to.
Sure.
You're not going to. So that a lot of their coordinators, they were eliminated. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised there's more guys. And you go, wait a minute, the only people playing are Bowie. The only team playing is Bowie.
Yeah.
So if there's more, there's going to be some guys maybe off of there. The team that really did well and the staff did well, doing some stuff. So you kind of scratch your head. Wait a minute, what's going on? But that's the way things are going in baseball today. The O's, they have given up double-digit hits 69 times.
Well, it's a good number.
It is. Which is the most in the major leagues, by the way. They have 10 players in double-digit home runs. Rio Reese hit the solo home run that tied that.
But how many
team record?
How many teams this year have that? Right, like I'd be interested to know. Like the Twins have 10 with 20. It feels like.
Yeah.
They have 8 with 20. I think it was.
Right.
But like the home run numbers are astronomical. I wonder. Do you think they're going to use the same ball probably in the playoffs, or is there any chance they're going to try?
Probably. But I heard that they may use that ball in Double-A next year.
Really? I mean, look. For what it's worth, if you're going to use it, I don't agree with not using it everywhere. I think it's silly that you would have guys develop and get used to using a baseball that they're not going to be using at AAA and major leagues.
At times they would send major league players to certain places. They would option them. Because they weren't going to pitch for enough, they would make them use the minor league ball. Like when they go on rehab, they used to use major league balls. So, I mean, that's – and they're only there for a short period of time. Let them use the major league ball. They all should use the major league ball.
There's people who think the major league ball should maybe be closer to the ones that they are using down there, but they should use a uniform.
Oh, absolutely.
It should be across the board. Everybody should be using the same one, right?
It should be, and because especially now when the ball is so different, the seams are lower. Mm-hmm. The seams are thicker, which they mean they have to wind them, wrap them tighter, which makes the ball.
It would be similar to like having the college football have
be square,
the laces be raised half an inch, and then having the NFL football, the laces be raised a millimeter or two, kind of thing.
It's but yeah, that's it's you scratch your head, but the O's. They've done some good things. They've done some very poor things. The defense has been atrocious at times.
But people are the Hanser Alberto thing, right? Like, he kills lefties. We get that.
Yeah, he's fourth in the league in hitting. A chance. And here's a guy that doesn't strike out a lot, and he swings at he doesn't walk a lot. Swings gets a lot of base hits. If it's left-hander, it's a good. He's hitting 420 versus left-hander. Most hits since Suzuki for Seattle.
I heard he was all right.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of, we had a question from a viewer. Phil asked, Ross, who is the best player you ever played with and against?
Oh, geez. Boy, that's
it's a doozy.
That's a doozy. I mean, I think Barry Bonds. I didn't play with him or against him, but I threw batting practice in spring training. This guy might be the best hitter, arguably of all time.
He had no holes,
obviously,
right?
I didn't see. And if you want to learn how to hit, know about hitting, A-Rod did a thing on his YouTube. He had Barry Bonds, and I suggest anybody that wants to know about it. I can't believe you wouldn't talk or listen to a Bonds, an A-Rod, a Carew, a Pete Rose. Listen to some of these guys talk about hitting, and it is unbelievable. I watched it. I was recommended to watch this, and I watched Bonds talk about hitting. He said, if I would have bunted, I would have bunted 400. Especially if they're not going to play me. All you got to do is bunt a few times, and then they'll avoid the shift. But why are these guys hitting in the shift? Anyway, back to the best player. Gosh, I don't. I pitched against some of the greats.
A lot of Clemente
Aaron
stories.
Clemente was outstanding. He's a bad ball hitter. In Baltimore, Eddie Murray was there.
So then Aaron compared to Bonds, it was used to think Bonds.
No. Bonds was a guy that if you threw the ball over if there's nowhere to pitch him.
Right.
And if there's guys on base, you just, why pitch to him? I want to pitch to somebody else.
I remember reading, this is a lot of great hitters, I think, probably are like this. Albert Pujols used to be, he would look curveball, he would look off speed, because he knew he would be able to catch up to the fastball if that's what it was. A lot
of times, yeah.
Is that probably similar to what Bonds was doing?
No, Bonds, his eyesight was so good that, just watch, and you couldn't throw. You could throw the ball at him, and he would hit it. He would pull it,
Foul.
but he would keep it fair.
Wait, what?
No, he would keep it fair. That's what was. He had a knack for doing stuff. His vision, his knowledge, and he was just. And like I said, I never played with him or against him, but I threw to him in batting practice, and he wanted. I was 40 feet away from him, and he wanted you to throw it hard. So the other guys were
similar. You hear stories about the Astros. One of their training regimens is, because of the high velocity in today's baseball, is putting the jug machine 40, 50 feet away and ramping it up to full speed.
That only makes sense. Bobby Bonds used to do that with guys. He would give them heavy bats at 7 o'clock in the morning in spring training, and the young kids hit it. He said, I can't. I said, well, swing till you do. And he would sit there on a chair with a cigarette and a cup of coffee, and here these guys were trying. He just jacked it up full bore, harder than most guys, and figure out a way to do this.
Well, if you look, you see that over and over, and suddenly you sit in the batter's box 60 feet away. Yeah. It's going to look a little bit easier to hit.
Yeah. But, getting back to the original question, it's, Aaron, Carew was a tough it was a tough out. There's a lot, each team had one, but one in particular, I just can't. Bill Madlock.
I know Bench was a guy. Is he the best guy you ever played with?
Oh, best offensive guy was probably Joe Morgan, because he could do so much. Defensively, he couldn't throw. He was a guy that was offensive player, big time offensive player. Could steal bases, hit with power, run defensively. He wasn't bench catching was tremendous.
Right.
I can the guys I played with. Belanger was a great field. Brooksy, obviously. Paul Blair could chase down stuff. Dawson Carter with the Expos, they were tremendous. And I got them when they were young. When I got there in 1978, they were just starting, and that's one of the reasons I went there. Obviously, because that and a 6-year contract and some money.
That doesn't hurt.
But they're a young team that you could see was going to do something, and that they were pretty special. But there were so many guys that each team had somebody that would wear you out. Somebody asked me, "Who's the best player you ever played against?" And I go, or the toughest out. I go, well, pick a team, because everybody. I couldn't get the Phillies out. They had so many guys. The Dodgers had. I won one time against the Dodgers, but they just wore me out. But.
All right, well, we are going to take our break. On the other side, we will chat with former Orioles pitcher Scott McGregor, as this is the Ross Grimsley Show from the Live Casino Hotel Studio here at Pressbox.
This is Stan the Fan for Glen Burnie Transmissions, located right in the heart of Glen Burnie for almost 60 years. If you suspect you're having a transmission problem, GBT can save you hundreds of dollars over taking it to the dealers for a repair. Make an appointment for a free diagnostic and estimate. Call GBT at 855-728-1841. Their mission is simple: to provide excellent service at a reasonable price. Go to their website at gbt-online.com to check out all of the 5-star reviews. Let my friend Mark Schwartzman and his GBT team take the troubles out of transmission troubles. Call them today at 855-728-1841.
Baltimore's favorite bar is just 771 feet from home plate at Camden Yards. Sliders Bar and Grill is at 504 Washington Boulevard, just steps away from Camden Yards. It's the perfect sports bar for every season. This is the perfect time to book your private party or take the office to lunch. Feeding clients? Take them to Baltimore's neighborhood sports bar, Sliders, for great food and drinks with some local atmosphere. You can book your private event on the second floor or on the outside patio, both overlooking the best stadium in baseball. See all of Sliders' daily specials or book your party at slidersbaltimore.com. Sliders, Baltimore's neighborhood sports bar. Visit them today.
Hey, this is Stan the Fan. You know we're all hoping for a special season out of our football team. When it comes to dining out casually and affordably, I know a place is special every season. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. Not only are they known all over for their great steamed crabs and crab cakes, they have a couple specials you want to keep in mind. Monday night is crab cake night. Tuesday night is ribs night. Wednesday night is steak night, partnered with half-price bottles of your favorite wines. And Thursday night is lobster night. So check out the Costas Inn this football season, and you may come back whatever the season. That's the Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard, 410-477-1975.
Hey, the Ross Grimsley Show is presented by Mobile One. Mobile One full synthetic oil helps extend engine life. Visit your local Jiffy Lube service center and ask for Mobile One. Well, our next guest, or our guest today, 13-year veteran, 138 wins, 108 losses, 399 earned run average, 20-8 in 1980, 15 wins in 4 seasons or more, 1981 All-Star. He had 6 seasons where he pitched 200 innings or more. In 34 innings in the World Series, he was 2-2 with a 212 earned run average. Scott McGregor. Scotty, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Ross. How are you?
I'm living life. Now, I talked to you last night. You know, I text you about obviously being on the show, and then I got some information that they let a few guys go. And you called me and said you were one of them. So anyway, that was a little bit of a shock, but I know in this day and age things are going. That's the way they go. But I know you were down in Sarasota. You were the pitching rehab coordinator, and you got a chance to see a lot of, I think, several of the big name draftees. What are some of your impressions of some of these guys?
Yeah, there were some nice arms down there and some nice players. Really, it was a great draft. It's probably one of the better drafts I've seen in my whole time here. So the kids came out pitching. They had a group. Jake Prezina, a little left-hander.
Right.
Donnie Warner kept saying, "Hey, it's Scotty McGregor pitching out there. Fastball, changeup, breaking ball, quick games and stuff." He did a great job. And Jake Pendergast, kid out of Pepperdine. So, California kid. Nick Roth ended up going up to Delmarva and pitched in the playoff. Pendergast went up to Aberdeen. Dalton Stanbaugh. There was some good arms.
Yep.
Kids knew how to pitch. Garrett Farmer, kid Manuel Gaza came up out of Dominican, throwing great. So it was fun to watch.
Did you get a chance, and I'm sure you did, to see Adley Rushman, the catcher, and what were your impressions with him?
Well, he's serious as can be, man. I was trying to mess with him all the time, trying to get him to laugh, and every once in a while you get a smile out of him, but he's after it. I mean, this kid is very serious. But, I threw batting practice to him a couple times when he was kind of trying to get through his, he had mono, and, they had to make sure he was okay before he got out of here, and watched him catch, and he's an impressive kid, really. I mean, he really swinging from both sides looked very similar. I'm glad to see he got going a little bit, got some hits, and got things moving along the way as he went up through the system.
Yeah, you see, I see Manny Machado. I saw Bumgarner, Posey, those guys like that. Is this somebody that you see moving very quick through the organization, or is it going to take a little bit of time? They're going to be patient with him. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, just watching Mike Elias and the way he's operated this year, I don't think he's in any big rush to fire people through. I mean, if you compare him to Wieters was our switch hitting guy, number one guy, and Matt just flew through the system. He tore it up. I think he might have been a little bit ahead of Hadley, but I think that he should album, being, I don't know if they'll start him in Delmarva, I would think next year, obviously, and then see where that goes. But I don't think they're in any rush with that, but he's a good-looking kid.
Yeah, down in, I know with some of the pitchers that are in Bowie and that we're in Delmarva, who both are Delmarva had a great year. With Rodriguez, now you hear like 19-year-old kid, he dominated in the Sally League. What are your thoughts on him?
He's a kid that can move quick.
Yeah,
he's the real deal, Ross. I mean, he can pitch. He's got feel. He's got tempo. He's got guts. He comes at you, and he's fun. I didn't get to see him pitch a whole lot this spring because I was up in the big league camp, but just a few times I saw him, it was just like men against boys. So right. I mean, he's a pretty good kid. He's got a great family. I've sat with his family last year up in the stands when he was the number one pick and sat next to his mom, and she said, "Hey, if you got anything wrong with him, let me know. I'll take care of it." I said, "Okay, this guy's got good lineage." So he's impressive, really.
Yeah. Obviously with Grayson Rodriguez, the next guy you always mention is DL Hall. Is Rodriguez, you think, going to move faster through the system than Hall?
I think he probably can. I think DL got a little sidetracked. He was down there with me at the end just before the season was over with that lat thing. But that's a nice race to watch. I don't mind watching and see who gets there first. But,
Scott, you're down there. Now, you're down there with a lot of the rehab guys. Now, I've seen more injuries. We had Richie Bancells on here a few weeks ago just talking about the injuries and how many there are, how many you see. And he made a comment that it's not so much the injury, it's the type of injuries that they're seeing now. And you just mentioned the lat. I've seen more leg injuries. I know the Yankees just lost an outfielder to a calf. I never heard of anybody having a calf problem. But there's
maybe a cattleman.
Yeah, really. You're not feeding them enough. But yeah, you see you see more calves. The Yankees lost an outfielder to a calf problem. 6 to 8 weeks. I'm going. I have never. And I asked people that played before us, with us, after us, why so many leg injuries? And we never had that. No one missed a start because of, heck, you pitched 200 innings 6 years.
Yeah.
And to get a guy to throw 150 innings now, you think we're trying to get him to climb Mount Everest. But I know it's a different day and age.
Well, it is. It's a different day. Hell, I threw 200 innings a year in the minor leagues.
Yeah, right.
So, I had 700 innings before I got to the big leagues. So that and we, there's no weights back then.
Right.
We were in shape. You pull calf muscles because you got muscles. Flanny, what Flanny say? Came to spring one year and he goes, "Hey, I feel great. I took all my muscles out."
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't all pumped up like that. And I tell the guys today, I go, and I know it's a different day, but I just say, you know what? We never even thought about injuries.
No.
I mean, it wasn't even really a thought.
No.
Nobody gets hurt. We'll be out there all year. No big deal, But it's just the nature of evolution of the game in the weight rooms, and guys wanting to throw 100 miles an hour instead of like you and me, throw it slower.
Really, and that was another question I wanted to ask. I mean, you see a lot of these guys. I think in AA you have Lauer, Zach. He's not an overpowering guy.
No,
I don't think Aiken. He's not an overpowering guy. Hides the ball well. But are these guys? I mean, you look at reports, scouting reports on these guys. They really have to locate and have their be able to throw an off-speed pitch behind an account. I think that's what they're trying to get Aiken to do, and the reason his walks went up so much, they're trying to, they're taking some of the aggressiveness away. From them because you got
swing and miss pitches.
Exactly right, and that leads to more problems. But I mean, you talk about those guys. Do those guys have a chance to pitch in the big leagues, or are they going to have to be really obviously be able to spot up and stuff?
Yeah, they got a chance. I think really one of the biggest things, I told Chris Holt this a lot, and and all these guys. The biggest thing I see with the analytics this year was in the draft of pitchers.
Right.
In the past, at least with the analytics, they're looking at videos. They're seeing guys with pitch shape. They're seeing guys that know how to pitch. And we weren't drafting, guys that could throw it through the wall. We had kids that could pitch that.
Right.
They could get a breaking ball over, and they could locate a fastball. They could, and so that was fun to watch. I mean, it was, we didn't have a whole lot of, projects down there other than just tweaking a few things here and there. They were all pretty good kids, and so I think it has its place,
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, we did it. We did it as coaches. I know I did it, but I used a pencil and a ruler or a tongue depressor, but we had a lot of this information that we could use. But now it seems like it's just a lot of overkill with stuff that you really don't. You really don't need. I know I know how hard a ball is hit. So exit velocity. I don't need to know that because I've been hit with the ball plenty of times. I know what a hard hit ball is.
Yeah, I know when I throw it and I hung it and he hit it up. That's
exactly right. And that's
you don't have to tell me how far and fast.
Yeah, another thing that you've noticed is, especially I've watched more big league games this year. What's the Orioles games, which is probably not a good thing, but it surprises me some of the stuff every day that you see that you shouldn't. But pitching inside is such a problem for guys and that is just something that. And I know being down there, what is the mindset of the guys? It seems like they're afraid to throw in, or they just don't want to, or I don't know. What do you see about it?
You see, the thing is, down here this year, down in the lower levels, I see guys pitching in good. They were pitching in well. I don't know what happens. Up there. Well, I know what happens. It's the old white line fever. You get out there in the big leagues and try and do too much. And they try and overthrow it in there instead of just getting it in there.
Right.
And it goes out over the middle of the plate. So, you watch it. You watch all these guys. When the catcher sits in, they hit it maybe 50% of the time. But if you miss it nowadays, these guys are just swinging, and it's a home run or a double.
Really?
Scott, we had a listener ask, do you think that Wells is eventually going to be a big league arm?
Wellesley is the guy that everybody looks at like, okay, how's he going to do? How's he going to do? And he just keeps doing it. He just pitched 6 innings, 1 run in the finale in that division series. And, I think so. I think he's the kind of kid that's got great makeup, great confidence, good pitch selection, fire strikes, and he's got as good a chance as any of these guys to be in the big leagues and pitch well.
Do you think he ultimately settles in a long relief role, or do you think maybe back-end starter could be where he ends up?
Oh, starter. I want some left-handed starters up there. The Orioles did all right when they had 2 left-handed starters, Nally and Cuellar, McGregor and Flanagan. It kind of makes a big difference. You get Johnny Means up there with one of these kids and get these guys going. They might have some arms to play with and get this thing turned around.
Well, before I let you go, Scotty, Major League Baseball, it's going to be, I think, the 4th or 5th year where the attendance is down. And obviously, it's the attendance and tickets and parking and all that's about 30% of the revenue generated. And they just signed a deal for $5.1 billion. And that's not even included the local and radio and television for each team. But the game as it's played today, do you see this going full circle and getting back to what it possibly was before, or continuing to be where it's either a home run, a walk, or a strikeout, which is really boring for a lot of people, and they're starting to voice their opinion about it. A lot of people, anonymous executives and higher up are making comments about the analytics, how much. Do you see this changing, or what do you see happening with obviously tanking and stuff? Where do you see this going?
I don't see it slowing down with us right now, because obviously, Mike has come in and let go of pretty much everybody that was here before, and he's going to bring in new people. So, it's going to go full throttle, but I think everything like water finds its level. It'll find its level.
Right.
It's going to take a little time, but there's always, technology, there's always improvement, there's always, trainers and people that figure out how to run faster, jump harder. There's always trying to get an edge one way or the other. So you can't help some of it, but I think it'll all finally it'll settle in.
Well, buddy, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate it.
All right.
And you take care, and I'm sure we'll see you.
Okay, Ross.
All right, buddy. Always good to have Scotty and his opinions. That's here's a guy that did a lot with his experience and knowledge. I mean, he'd be a welcome addition to any organization, not only baseball-wise, but off the field as a person, he can offer so much. And not sure what he's going to do, but whatever he does, he'll be successful at it.
On his feet, yeah.
Yes, sir. That's always good. So let me tell you a little bit about another place that's 771 feet from home plate. Sliders Bar and Grill. Just steps from Camden Yards. Perfect sports bar for baseball season, football season, all sports. You got dozens of big TVs to watch it on. Daily specials include Mexican Monday, Wing Ding Wednesday, Bloody Brunch Sunday, and more, with different deep drink specials every day of the week. You can also book your private parties at Sliders. Big, spacious upstairs. Also an outdoor patio overlooking Camden Yards. Sliders, Baltimore's neighborhood sports bar. You want more information, go to slidersbaltimore.com. But be sure to visit Sliders today. 771 feet.
From home plate?
From home plate.
Not bad.
Oh, man, that was, always great, always great. So anyway, we got the Dodgers and the Orioles. Dodgers in for a 3-game series. They got tie block tonight, Means tomorrow, and Bundy following that. They're facing some pretty good pitchers from the Dodgers. The Dodgers, one of the top, obviously,
pretty talented,
best record in the National League. So that should be fun to watch. Anyway, that wraps it up.
Indeed, it does.
We'll check you next week.
Sounds good, sir.
All right, buddy. Cool, man.
Take it easy.